Bruce Stanley, and this is my story. As a child, my father was my hero, and at the age of 12, he was all my family needed. As he was a successful man, he took care of our family, and really, from the age of 12 and back, I thought we had a storybook life. Living in the suburbs in Houston, just my father, he was my hero. My father was an alcoholic, and I didn't know this until just before he died, which was in a car accident. It sent my family crushing into the depths of an ocean full of sin and shame. What started out as just disbelief turned into each of us trying to tread the water of the ocean that we were left in by my father's death. Our hero was gone. Each time we attempted to save ourselves was one step closer to sinking in that same ocean. I remember my father used to tell me when he would be away on a business trip, "Son, you need to be the man of the house while I'm gone." So that's the only thing I was left with. And how could I be a hero for my family? I was 12 years old. And from that moment on, every attempt that I tried to make to help myself or my family just failed miserably. I quickly turned to the same thing that killed my father: alcohol and drugs. At an early age, I was just trying to escape from this life that I was now sinking in. Growing up, my family went to church. We were in Texas and we were Southern Baptists. And I never really saw God as my hero. The only thing I knew about God was that he was an angry God, and that he punished and he disciplined, and I felt like that was what God was doing in my life. I tried to escape God and this world in desperation of just trying to stay above the water, always feeling like I was sinking. My life continued on in this pattern until I became well into my adult life through experiences in the war, in the military, and a failed marriage and a divorce, 2 children, and my alcoholism and drug use had just become so bad that it was really destroying my life and everyone around me. And I learned from the early age, all the way into adulthood, that I just couldn't trust anybody. And now what I was learning was that I couldn't even trust myself. As my life took on more and more sin, the water kept getting deeper and deeper. After rehabs and institutions and many times in jail, I was failing at being my own hero. I'm really not knowing where to turn. The only understanding still I had of God was that he must hate me, that he must be angry at me, that he's constantly punishing me and disciplining me. And I really didn't understand who God was, or that he could even be the one who could be my hero in my life and rescue me from what I was going through. And this God that I thought who was angry at me was really watching me, always hopeful, so desperately wanting to be my hero, but I didn't see God that way. After 30 years of addiction, alcoholism, in the wake of destruction that I had caused for myself and others around me, I found myself literally in a ditch, drowning in the pouring rain, not knowing how I got there or where I was. I woke up, but what I believe today is by the hand of God reaching down and pulling me up out of that water. God was showing me that he was going to be my hero. What I realized almost immediately was Jesus, this face of God, who presented himself to the earth and to me that he was my hero, that he was the one who wasn't just going to keep me above the water in my sin, but he was going to swallow up the ocean. He removed these things out of my life. And I believe that the difference this time was that I was all in. My shame level went from 10 to 0. I just didn't care anymore what the world thought of me. I only cared about what God thought about me and what God was going to reveal to me about himself. And yeah, all the circumstances that I had created for myself were still there. And there were a lot of them. I had dug myself so deep into sin that God was going to show me how together we were going to get through all of that. When I started to realize that God was showing me himself in a new way. Somebody that I could trust. Somebody that I realized who loved me beyond any definition that I knew of love. And God began to grow me. He began to strengthen me each day to a point where 3 years later that I am today, I feel privileged that God broke me in this way. Because now I've not only been able to be reconciled back to him and have this amazing relationship with him, but I have a new understanding of who I am in God, who Jesus is, who came to this earth to show us the revelation of God and how now I can actually be a light to other people. I'll be celebrating 3 years of being clean and sober, and the amazing journey that God has brought me on and continues to do today is just this revelation over and over again, minute by minute, every day. I feel like I'm on an adventure with God, of him revealing more of himself to me so that I'm able to taste just a little bit more of his glory. And all I'm doing is trusting him, the same thing I did from day one. What I realized was this ocean of sin that I thought was my own and private only to me, that it's this ocean that we're all swimming in. And that God the Father, forever watching us, sent his Son a long time ago to swallow up this ocean of sin and put us on dry land. And that it's already been done. The heroic act of what God was going to do for us was to send his Son to be the hero, to decimate sin, and that all we have to do is recognize that this has already been done for us. Jesus is our hero, then and today. Jesus is our great hero. Jesus is my great hero.